Hello, everyone, and welcome to this year's Melanin Magic Conference. I am so excited about the theme this year, which is intersectionality, inclusive, and impactful. And I cannot wait to bring to you my presentation, which I think covers all three of those things. But before we do that, I want to tell you a little bit about the girl in front of you who is wearing these huge, big headphones. But you know what? I kind of dig it. Let's roll with it. My name is Johora Warren. I am also known as Sojo in the Teacher Graham community. My Instagram name is at That's So Johorable, and a few people decided to shorten it. That's where we get Sojo. But I am a Tampa, Florida native. I am currently still living in Tampa, and I will be starting my 8th year of teaching. I have experience teaching 3rd grade. I taught 3rd grade for 4 years, and I'm going into my 4th year of teaching 5th grade. This year coming up, I will be teaching 5th grade ELA and social studies with the gifted inclusion classroom. So I'm really excited about that. It's something that I am very passionate about, teaching some of our most talented and bright learners. But besides that, I am a mother. I have a 5-year-old and I have a 3-year-old, and my 5-year-old is going to be starting kindergarten at my school, and I am so excited about that. I am also a very passionate activist. So I am all about having those tough conversations and really fighting for justice and for liberation. And finally, I am in my very last class of my grad school career. I am taking courses with Louisiana State University, and by August 13th, I will be done. So I'm very excited about that. I will be obtaining my master's degree in higher education. My bachelor's degrees were from the University of South Florida, where I got it in elementary education and in mass communications. So that is a little bit about me. I am so excited to be presenting to you my session, which is all about something I'm very passionate about. So I am super passionate about English language arts and reading and teaching students to love reading. And I'm also really passionate about social studies and social justice and teaching students to be the best humans that they can be. So I was thinking, what is something that I can present about that will kind of mesh those two things together, that will mesh English language arts, that will mesh social studies, social justice, and actually that could be used cross-curricularly. And then I thought, Eureka, I am going to talk about including picture books in the classroom. Now you might be like, oh, I'm a teacher, I include picture books all the time. But a lot of us, especially in the intermediate classrooms, feel that there's no value in picture books, which that is so not the case. That's actually the opposite. One reason why my students do so well is because I'm constantly exposing them to a variety of different topics, and I use picture books to do that. So this session I would love to introduce you to is called Picture This, incorporating inclusive picture books in the upper elementary classroom. So again, I told you I teach 5th grade and I use picture books very frequently. The kids don't find it babyish. They actually really enjoy and love having you read to them. So really quick, I want to talk about some of the things I'm going to cover today. So I'm going to talk about the importance of picture books. I'm going to talk about how you can use them in your classroom, why you should use them in your classroom. And then at the end of the session, I'm going to pose to you a challenge, and I'm going to give out a freebie from my Teachers Pay Teachers store. So I'm really excited. Let's buckle down into Picture This, incorporating inclusive picture books in the upper elementary classroom. So before I jump into giving you all of the different tips and all of the different ways that I utilize picture books in my classroom, I really want to talk to you about the research behind it, the why. Why are picture books important? Why should they be included in your classroom? Because when you understand the why, there's more buy-in into the what. So the best way for me to do that is to talk about a picture book queen, and she is a Black woman. Her name is Dr. Rudine Sims Bishop. She is known as the mother of multicultural children's literature, and she is absolutely, absolutely incredible. Please look up her work. I'm pretty sure you have heard about her, especially if you understand the concept of books and children's books being windows, about being mirrors, and about being sliding glass doors. So she is the one who kind of piloted that and talked about that. So I'm going to share with you exactly her words, and then I'm going to synthesize that information. So Dr. Bishop said, books are sometimes windows, offering views of worlds that may be real or imagined, familiar or strange. These windows are also sliding glass doors, and readers have only to walk through in imagination to become part of whatever world has been created and recreated by the author. And then if the light is right, sometimes that window can become a mirror. Literature transforms human experiences and reflects it back to us. And in that reflection, we can see our own lives and experiences as part of the larger human experience. So let me break it down for you. Like we said, books should be mirrors, they should be windows, and they should be sliding glass doors. The concept of books being mirrors is that students should see themselves reflected in the books that we are reading. So I ask you, as you are looking through your picture books, as you are looking through the books, your read alouds that you are reading to your students, is this book serving as a mirror to some of our students? And we need to make sure that we have books that are mirrors of our marginalized population, but not just our marginalized population. It is so important for our books to be inclusive, and they should include everyone. It's not just the Black students that need to see, Black and brown students that need to see themselves reflected back in the literature, but it's those students of color that need to see Black and brown students reflected back to them. So books as mirrors where the students can see themselves in it. Next, let's talk about books as windows. This is something that I think is a step that a lot of teachers get to. They find books that are representative of different populations, and they invite the students to peek into it, to look into the window and to see the differences of someone. And books as windows give students the opportunities to think about themselves and think about how this person is similar or different from them. All they need to do is peek into the window and kind of view. But it's very passive. It's kind of like they're a spectator in this. So it is super important for students to also move past using books as windows and instead transforming and evolving to looking at books as a sliding door where they can walk in and they can be immersed into it. And when students start to utilize picture books as sliding doors, they start to develop empathy. They start to put themselves in that other person's shoes, and they start to really care about this person as a person. They start to jump into the larger human experience, and they're able to think about these students as people and think about injustices with these students as well. So books as mirrors where students can see themselves reflected, books as windows where they are able to see others and the way that they live and look through it and kind of peek into it, and then books as sliding doors where they are able to really kind of dive into it and become part of the book, part of that really understanding and appreciating and accepting those different cultures. Y'all, I am certain that every teacher, college alive, especially for elementary school teachers, have taught us why you should read picture books. They allow us to model fluency for our students. They allow us to have our students understand the concept of rhyming and patterns. They allow us to model think alouds with our students. But a lot of that is really conditioned to primary students. Picture books are also so important for our older students too. You might be thinking, why or how? How can I add rigor to that? Well, There are so many things that we can talk about with picture books with our older students. If we are introducing a new concept, picture books are perfect to be that gateway to the new concepts that we are teaching. Picture books also allow us to talk about more complex concepts and themes. So we can talk about bullying, we can talk about racism, we can talk about homophobia, all from picture books. It makes the information easily accessible, so our ELL students are able to really kind of improve their language by looking at reading the picture books, having you read along with them, and looking at the pictures as well. So there are so many valuable things that can be taken away with picture books. Also, reading together, that strengthens your classroom community. Everyone is able to kind of have some type of commonality because you've all read that book together. So you can sit and you can talk and you have really good conversations about it. That's why parents are always being encouraged to read with their child, because it strengthens those relationships. Again, I've talked about it helps you gain exposure, helps the students gain exposure to different themes that are really diverse and might be a little bit complex as well. Picture books and reading aloud really gets students talking. It gets students talking about things that they might not have spoken about, because you've developed that sense of community, which is then developing that safe space for them to share about their feelings, or to share about the feelings of those characters too. And simply, it is enjoyable for not just you, but for your students. It's a great way to kind of take a breath and to share this moment and this bond for students, and to get them to really love and enjoy reading. It can be a gateway to really being interested in the content that you're about to teach, that can branch off into those students reading books, chapter books about this topic as well. So picture books are something that are beneficial to all students, even if you teach middle school, even if you teach high school, because it's an enjoyable way and an easily accessible way for students to gain vocabulary and to gain access into these complex concepts and themes. Now, I have been teaching for a long time, and a lot of the things that I do when I am reading aloud to my students, I will pick a book that I love, and we will go through the book and we will have these rich conversations. So I had to stop and think, well, what is it that I do? What is it that I talk about with my students? And I think I have come up with a checklist of things that you can also do with your students when you are reading aloud these picture books to them. So I always start by showing them the cover, of course. Hey, can you identify who is the author of the book? Who was the illustrator of the book? Perfect. So we're kind of reinforcing some of those skills from, kindergarten. So we look at the cover, and then I also show them the back cover too. You'd be so surprised, because so many picture books will take one of the images from the actual book and will put it on either the back or they'll put it on the front of the book. So as I'm reading, I'll have students say, "Oh, that's the picture from the cover of the book." So it's a great way for them to build connections. So I always start with that. And then as I read through, I stop and I make sure that I'm gauging for understanding and seeing if the students look like, I'm not really understanding this. So, but let me go back to my process. So some of the things that we talk about, we always talk about, what is the setting? Now, the setting is not just place. Okay, it's not just where is the story taking place. It is also what time is the story taking place. This could be what season, what year, what point in history is the story taking place. And as you start reading more and more picture books, you can kind of think about a timeline with, hey, did this story take place before the last picture book that we did, or after the last picture book that we did? Is this story taking place now, or is this story taking place years ago? Let's think about that. So that's a great way for you to have the students constantly thinking about, where is the story taking place? What is the environment of the story? And when is it taking place in history, and making those connections like that. We also really talk about the characters. Now, in our primary grades, you have students that will say, oh, well, this is the character, this is the main character, this is another character. As you start getting to more complex picture books, a lot of times you'll see that the characters might not be a person. It might be an abstract object or an abstract item. It's just all all thinking about and sharing with your students, hey, who is this story about? Who is somebody that, or what is something that's important in this story? And as we are reading, and actually after we read, we think about, what are some of the character traits of this character? How would you describe this character? What is some evidence from the story that lets you know that this character is this way? You said this character is brave. What did this character do that makes you believe that they are brave? And you're always getting them to justify their thinking, which is a higher level skill in those standards that are covered. Also, in 5th grade particularly, you're always thinking about, how has the character changed? How has the character evolved? Why did they evolve? Why did they change? What caused them to change? And those are some great conversations that you can have with your students. Now, also, starting from 3rd grade, picture books usually have great examples of figurative language. So I encourage my students, as I'm reading, like if they hear if I say like a word that's an onomatopoeia, they can say, oh, onomatopoeia. Or if I say a phrase or a sentence, like, hey guys, what is this an example of? A metaphor? Exactly. Or this is kind of an exaggeration. I think that might be a hyperbole. Okay. Or I've noticed that in this book, What Do You Do with a Chance? The chance is doing a lot of different things. What figurative language do you think that is? Or, oh, is that personification? You're putting human qualities to an abstract item, or an item that is an inanimate object? Awesome. So we are constantly talking about that. Same with, I stop and I discuss any complex vocabulary. Now, I've been teaching for a while, so a lot of it is just innate. I'm like, oh, I know these kids have not come across this word, or this is a word that that I feel like they don't get a lot of exposure to, because it's really like, this is a word that goes along with this farming book or something like that. And then we stop and we think about, what does this word mean, especially in context? So can you replace this word with something else, and will the story still make sense? I don't know. So we stop and we talk about the different vocabulary within the text. And I also like to have them say synonyms for these words. So, oh, well, if you're talking about, this word, if this word is gigantic, can we also say enormous? Can we also say large? Can we also say, different words like that? So we talk a lot about synonyms, and it's kind of like a game. How many synonyms can we talk about? And also with vocabulary, you can tell I love literature, right? So with vocabulary, you can talk about, and the synonyms, you can talk about the shades of meaning. She was irritated. She was angry. She was livid. Okay. She was furious. Those are different shades of meaning, and how picture books can utilize these shades of meaning for you to say, oh, well, do you think they are really, really angry? Or do you think they're just kind of upset? And I try to have them steer away from, oh, the character is happy, the character is sad. No, this character is devastated. This character is melancholy. So it really gives them a lot of exposure to different vocabulary words. Now, illustrations are a great way for you to start introducing to your students the concept of tone and mood. What do you think the tone is of the book? And then the mood. How does the book make you feel? Like the tone, how the author is conveying the information, and the mood, how does what the author is writing, how does that lead you to feel. And the illustrations can help the students kind of gauge the tone and mood of that. I love books like Heart and Soul, which is a very lengthy picture book, but it has such rich, amazing, incredible illustrations. And for students that where there are some barriers in language, they can look at the illustrations to help propel their comprehension. And then I always end with, what do you think the theme was of this book? It's not just happiness. No, we need to kind of think a little bit deeper. It's not just, oh, be kind. Every book, the theme is not just be kind. It might be overcoming adversity. And we always talk about, what is the moral? What is the lesson that you think you've learned from this text, from this book? Why do you think that this book was written? How did this book make you feel? So I always try to I know I was kind of long-winded in talking about it, but these are things that we just kind of go boom, 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 boom. And it serves y'all as a spiral review for all of the different comprehension concepts that we talk about throughout the school year. And these kids are getting exposure to it every single day. So it's not just, I'm teaching about figurative language and now I'm done with that unit, so now I'm moving on. No, we are talking about this every single day. They are getting some type of exposure to it. And if they don't understand it the first time, guess what? They have the next day or the next day or the day after that or the day after that to understand some of these different concepts that might be hard. And as you continue to model the conversation, you'll notice that they will start modeling it themselves too. They will start kind of thinking deeper about these books just by practice, by seeing you do it. And a lot of times they'll ask me a question and I'll pose it back to the group. Well, what do y'all think? Why do you think she's sitting over there by herself? Why do you think she's walking alone? Why do you think they're treating her differently? Why do you think that they're doing this to him? And it is great because, there's that saying, like, whoever's doing the most talking in the classroom is doing the most learning. We need to get our students talking. And as they are talking, we are able to kind of address any misconceptions that they might have. We encourage the dialogue. We need them to dialogue with us. And picture books just provide such a great way for students to do that. Now, one easy way that I incorporate social studies into all of my read alouds is by talking about the setting, talking about the geography and the point in history that these picture books are taking place. Hey, where is this book? Oh, is this book in Nigeria? We live in Florida. How far is Nigeria from Florida? And then we look at a map. And I have these really cool scratch off maps in my classroom, which this is a reminder to myself to order those scratch off maps again. But I love the scratch off maps because it gives a great visual of where we are and then where the picture book is taking place. And it's kind of like a game. Every time we read a picture book that has a different setting, I get the students to think about the setting, because if they can tell me where the book is taking place, we can scratch it off on our map. And when we scratch it off on our map goes from, being like black and gold to being very colorful. And they love this is just such a great way to get them engaged. They love getting to cross off somewhere else that we've learned about. And it holds me accountable because I'm like, oh, we've been reading a lot of books about places in the United States and we have not read anything about any books of people in Asia. We need to change that. And the students will be like, hey, when are we going to read a book about someone from Italy? Like, oh, you're right. Let me find a picture book about that. And I guarantee there's a picture book for almost every single place. Now, there's just not enough time in this school year for us to cover the entire map, but you can really get a really large chunk. So try and make sure that you are being inclusive with your picture books, that you're not just teaching picture books about places in the United States. You're also teaching picture books from places in from places in Europe and from places in Africa and things like that. It also really gets their wheels turning about just location and where they are in the world versus where other people are in the world. And it allows them to see that, hey, you don't live in a bubble. You are not the most important person on this planet. There are so many other people that live in very different places, and it provides them the opportunities to have, you know, kind of those windows and those sliding doors that we were talking about earlier. So scratch off maps, I place it in my classroom, and as we read a picture book, if they can tell me the location of the book, we'll scratch it off. Now, sometimes there are books where it'll say, oh, this character moved from Korea to Michigan. Well, then no, this book is not a book about Korea. We have to be very intentional about that. And you'll have the students say, well, they were only in that place for a little bit. I'm like, you're right. Can we scratch it off? I don't think we can. So it's really fun and engaging for the students. They love being able to see that, hey, we're scratching it off. Where is this place? We're here. This place is all the way over there. Wow. And then even some of the scratch off maps will have like where you can scratch off the flags too. So they're able to see, oh, this is the country, or this is the state, or this is wherever, and this is their flag that goes along with it. So I strongly encourage you to, you know, if you want to add that extra level of excitement and engagement, you can get a scratch off map. Otherwise, just make sure that every time you are reading these books and you're asking them about the setting, that you are physically showing them where it is on the map too. Now, you might be asking yourself, girl, where am I going to get all these picture books from? These picture books are expensive, and you would be absolutely right. So I want to tell you a little bit of some of the things that I do, because I am very thrifty and I am very crafty. So picture books are something that is so important to me, and I know I try to read at least one every single day with my students, and I'll talk to you a little bit more about that later. So every year for my birthday is right before the beginning of the school year. I say, hey, depending on my age that I'm turning, I started this when I was turning 30. I said, hey, guys, for my birthday, I want 30 picture books by my 30th birthday. Please, 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 if you want to, if you're thinking about getting me a gift, can you please gift my classroom? This is something that is so important to me, and people love donating to classrooms. Like if you just ask, like, hey, my students would really love this. Can you please buy this for my classroom? They usually will. Say, it's for the children. It's for the 10-year-olds. Guys, it's for the 3-year-olds. Please donate to my classroom. People usually will. So there is no shame in my game. I create an Amazon wish list, or you can have a wish list for various bookstores. And I say, hey, I'm trying to get 30 picture books by my 30th birthday. This year I did it again. I'm trying to get 32 picture books by my 32nd birthday. And here's the thing. I don't just put 30 or 31 or 32 picture books on my list. I put way more than that. So if I reach my goal, there might be people that still want to purchase, and I might surpass my goal. So every year I've been able to surpass my goal. Plus people are like, oh, you just want a $10 book for your birthday? Okay. You know, they think that they're coming out on top, and really you're getting all these incredible books for your classroom. So that is one way. Also, whenever there are grant opportunities with my school, like, hey, we have some leftover, you know, booster-thon money. What do you need? I need some inclusive picture books. I need some inclusive text for my students. It's for my students. I've noticed that my picture books are all little white boys as the protagonists. I really need some books for Asian Heritage Month. I really need some books about Pride. Can you provide my classroom with some of these books? And a lot of times your administrators or your districts are have money for that kind of stuff. I also do book clubs, like with Scholastic Books, and when my students purchase things, I'll get points, and I use my points for books. And y'all, when I am down and out and I have milked all my resources, I'll go to the library. I'll go to my school library, or I will go to my my public library. Public library tends to have a lot more of the newer books. And with my school library, I'll say, I was really looking forward to having this book, but I noticed we don't have it. Are there any funds that we could get maybe some more books about blah blah blah. And a lot of times you'll notice that like your media specialist or your librarian will say, oh yeah, I have some scholastic points, or I have some money from the book fair, blah blah blah. And then I utilize or they will order those books for the school, which will then be for my classroom as well. So those are a couple of different ways that I supply picture books into my classroom. And also I go around and I ask, because there are so many teachers that are willing to spend their money, their personal money, on books that are not as broke as me. And I will say, hey, can I please borrow this book? I'll give it right back. So always do that. And there's been times where my grade level, I'll be like, hey, I bought this book. We all want to read it today, but let's just do it in rotation. So you'll pass the book along. So there are so many ways for you to, that are, inexpensive for you to expose your children, your students, to all these different wonderful, incredible picture books. Sometimes there are days when I am just stumped. What am I going to read to these students today? And I have a place in my classroom where I house the picture books. And every so often I'll have my students say, hey, Miss Warren, are you going to read this book? And then that will allow me to have an idea of what to read for that day. Sometimes I'll ask a student to pick one off of the shelf and then we'll read that. But other times I like to think about the month, if there is a theme for that month, and or if there are certain days that should be commemorated or celebrated during that month. So for example, from September 15th to October 15th, around that time, we have Hispanic Heritage Month. So during those times, that's when a lot of my picture books are heavily Latinx inspired. Same with, August is National Back to School Month. So a lot of my books are all about, getting acclimated with being back at school, and how to treat our friends and things like that. So I like to think about, what is the month? What is the time of year? And can I find some picture books that go along with that? Also, what are some of the special holidays or celebrations during this month? Can I read a picture book that corresponds with any of those days? And I was getting frustrated because I would walk into school and then I would look on Instagram and I'd see, wait, today was International Dot Day? How did I forget? Or today was World Hijab Day? Oh my goodness, I could have read a picture book about this. Yesterday was Diwali? What? I have so many books about this. And I was not paying attention to my calendar. So I decided, listen, I need this housed in one place. I need all the dates, the fun ones, the religious ones, the cultural ones. I need this on a calendar, and I need ideas of a book that will go along with this day, and then also with the other days of the month that go along with the theme of the month. So I'm just going to create it. So that is what I did. I created what I have called a picture book a day, because that is my goal for the year. Every year I try to create some sort of goal, a teacher goal that I can focus on for the year that makes me feel successful at the end of the year. So this year I'm like, I'm going to commit myself to reading a picture book a day. I don't care if it's a testing day. I don't care if it's the last day of school. I don't care if it's a half day. I am going to read a different picture book a day. Now I'm like, I got to think about 180 picture books to read and insert my newest product, which I am gifting all of you for free. So I created a picture book a day, and in it, I developed the calendar. So I just released August, and I came up with different days that go along with August. So for example, August 4th is former President Obama's birthday. I would love to read a picture book about him because it's his birthday, and it was somebody very important in American history. There's also National Lemonade Day. Oh, I know there are so many amazing, incredible, inclusive picture books about lemons or lemonade. So I put all those different dates on the calendar. Then on the next calendar, I put the images of the different picture books. And these picture books that I chose, all of them will correspond with the day, the specific day that it is, if there is a specific holiday on that day. And then every other book that I included on that calendar are just that go along with the theme of the month. So my August books, if it's not a specific day, all the other books are about like just great back to school books that will allow you to kind of build and establish community with your classrooms. So I created like a visual of each of the books, pasted in the day. I did Monday through Friday because I don't think any schools go to school on Saturday and Sunday. So I just did Monday through Friday for the entire month. And then I put the titles of the books on a different page. So I try to be very inclusive of characters, of who the books are about, who the books are written by, like the authors of the books, and making sure that I am supporting BIPOC authors as well. And I created this in this handy document that I am providing to you all for free. I'm so excited for you to utilize that. Hopefully it will be a great asset to you. And I plan to have the rest of the school year, and actually I'm going to do every single month because some schools go to school still in June. Some schools are year round. So I'm going to be doing that for every month, and it will be available on my Teachers Pay Teachers store. But you get a little bit of a you get head start, I guess. You get a head start with this product that I created. And I'm so excited to share it with fellow teachers of color. So let's kind of just go back to what I have spoken about. So remember, it is so important, not just for our littlest learners, but for our older students to get exposed to picture books because it makes difficult concepts easily accessible. Picture books should be inclusive. They should be mirrors. They should be windows. They should be sliding doors. There are so many things that you can think about when you are so many skills that you can target while you are reading picture books. So think about the grade level that you teach, but you can always talk about setting, characters, figurative language, all of those things. What do you notice in the pictures? How does this book compare to a different book? So there are so many different literature standards that you can hit just by reading 10 to 15 minutes in the day, a picture book a day. I also talked about different places that you can get these picture books. Don't feel like you need to spend all your money. Ask for books for your birthday. Ask for books for Christmas. Ask for books for your classroom if there's extra grant money. Borrow these books from the library, from the public library. I love to do that too. One final thing, when you are showing the pictures of the book, just make sure that the students are able to see it. So you can display it on a document camera. You can walk around so every student can see it. Just make sure that they're able to see the illustrations as well. Make sure that when you're talking about setting that you are physically pointing to where this book is from on the map, and that will be great for your students with their geography and their map skills. And then I talked about how I have developed a challenge from reading a picture book a day. I hope that you join me in that challenge. And I am providing you with my month of August picture books that I am super excited about. That includes different fun holidays, whether they're quirky, whether they are religious or cultural, and I'm providing that resource to you for free. And just be on the lookout for September through July of next year for the rest. And I just want to thank you so much for being here. It is so difficult to do professional development over the summer when you are just like, I'm tired. I'm trying to go hang out with my friends. I'm trying to barricade myself in my room because my kids are acting crazy. There's so many different things that you could be doing, but instead you are making a commitment to developing yourself in your craft. And I commend you. And I'm so excited to hopefully, network with you and chat with you. So feel free to follow me on my social media. I am available at That's So Johorable, the little @ sign, that's, so THATS SO, then Johorable, JOHORRIBLE, because my name is Johora. I'm so excited to connect with you on Instagram. You can follow me on Twitter at Johorable. And let's connect. Let's talk. Let me know if there is anything that I can do for you, if you have any questions. I'm not very huge on Instagram, so I will most likely be able to get back to you. Thank you so much. Remember, it is so important for our students to read picture books and for you to expose them to that. So I hope you have a wonderful school year. Be blessed, and I'll talk to you soon. Goodbye, guys.